Hello, Todd Clemens, Okeechobee Livestock Market, and here is your weekly market report for the last sales of November. We were closed last week for Thanksgiving, hoping everybody had a good time and a lot of turkey and dressing and a lot of family and football and all the things that we associate with Thanksgiving. We do have a lot to be thankful for, and what a great country we live in, and we're free to move around and go and do like we want for the most part, and we are very blessed and very thankful for what we have. So this week, after this week, we've got 2 more weeks of sales, so we're getting right down to the end of it, and prices did improve a little bit this week. Being closed last week, it was kind of hard to compare 2 weeks ago, but I would call the market on some of these calves $6 to $8 higher on the heavier classes of cattle. The 3 and 4 weight calves are bringing about the same thing. They're pretty close, but when you jump up to the 500 and 600 pounders, you're seeing a big difference there. And also something else I saw, which was pretty interesting, these bull calves that we're getting on the front end, number 1 calves that are bull calves, and the steer calves, if they're under 500 pounds, they're bringing pretty close the same money. I probably shouldn't even tell you that because nobody will cut their bull calves anymore. But you know, those castrated bull calves are castrated steer calves are more in demand because it's just less that the people have to do when they buy them. But anyway, the lighter cattle were bringing pretty good. We saw several 4-weight steers bring in around $2 or maybe even a little over $2 on some 4-weight calves. And another interesting side note, something to look for too, is the heifers are quite a bit lower than the steers. Usually there's a 15-cent difference between the steer and the heifer, but now it's really kind of out of whack, and maybe it has something to do with the feed conversion and heifers not converting as well as steers do. But I'm seeing those heifers 35 cents cheaper than the steers. If you sell a 500-pound steer today for, we saw some bring in $1.80, that same calf, if it's a heifer, is going to be bringing around 145 or 50. So it's a big spread between steers and heifers. But overall, and all in all, the market was definitely better. Your Chicago Mercantile Board is higher. It's been plussing about every day. The fat cattle market on these fat steers coming out of the feedlots is gaining a penny or two every day, or $1, however you want to look at it, $1 or $2 every day here for the last week. Of course, last week there wasn't that much of a kill. They were closed on Thanksgiving, and I'm not sure they did much business on Saturday either, but there's been a lot of cattle processed, and meat is moving pretty steady. The prime rib is what's driving the deal right now in the holidays between Thanksgiving and New Year's. The prime is what's in big demand. The lesser cuts are off. The select cuts are lower. But the choice cuts are higher, and there's a little bit of difference between that. And at some point we're thinking, people that I read and listen to, that the inflation and the cost of fuel and people trying to shop for Christmas and their discretionary money, you know, they're going to maybe back off of those high-end meat cuts and buy cheaper cuts. We'll see how that goes. But packers are still making a profit on them, but they're giving some up now because of the inventory is lower. The feedlots are very, very current, and they're having to bid them up to get those cattle sold. So they're on up there into the 150s. They're trading fat cattle now, I think, for about 155, which is very good. But cost of feed is still high, and the cost of gain is up there around $1.20 to $1.30, depending on what they're feeding. But it's all coming around, and we're looking for these calves to continue to get higher, hopefully. And of course, there's a lot of things can go on in the world, and corn prices in the Ukraine and all that, but it's looking like it's going to come back down to the cattle producers. But you know, people are out there eating meat and they're buying that beef, and we just got news from that JBS's little all veggie burgers and their plant-based food process has gone out of, I don't know if they went out of business, but they pulled the plug on it. And I'm wondering if maybe if they just got that thing going and probably got some kind of a federal subsidized to put that in with all this green new stuff. There's no telling how much money they made off of it just putting it in production, and then they pulled the plug on it. So, you know, if you're a meat eater and you like beef, that's good news to find out that that plant-based company of JBS is not even in business anymore. So we'll see how that goes. There's no telling about JBS and those guys, but anyway, we like to keep things local here in America. Buy from America. Buy U.S. raised, born, raised, and harvested beef. We don't want any of that imported stuff either. So let's see, 2 more weeks of sales. Prices are higher. I really wouldn't be in a big rush unless you just need some Christmas spending money before the end of the year. I think it's just going to be better even after we come back in 2024. It's hard to even say that word, 2024. Oh, 23. Wow, I'm like a whole year ahead. I was looking at the calendar for 2023 and it ran on to the end. I was looking at to see when we would be closed for the end of the year 2023, and man, I tell you, anyway, the way time flies, it'll be here before you know it. So 2 more weeks of sales. Get them in here if you need some spending money for Christmas, and even after the new year 2023, prices are expected to be as good or maybe even better then. So on the high prices for the week, we have 2 names that we haven't mentioned before that I remember, but Joe Thompson, right here from Okeechobee, had a little calf that weighed 195 pounds, and get this, that calf brought $2.80 a pound, weighing almost 200 pounds. That was a good little calf. The calf was bought by Foy Reynolds. And on the slaughter cow side, Tuning Out Farms, I love the name, Tuning Out Farms Incorporated from Jupiter, had a cow that weighed 1480, and she brought 87 cents, and she was bought by Cargill. And that's your market report. Thank you.